Hey, you caught me on my coffee break. All right, so in the last video, we were able to make sure that the user can log in, and user did. So now we need to make sure that the user logs out. So in order for this, we're going to be working on the header right now because the logout is going to be in the header. So we're gonna because the logout is a lot faster and a lot easier of all the services. We're also gonna work on the header at the same time. Just, I know I like to keep things modular, but you know, the header is actually part of the logout process, so why not, right? So let's go ahead and do that. Let's bring in the header. All right, let's bring in the header so we can have it on the screen. Let's close this custom login. Let's close this register, and let's do this guy right here. So all right, let me close some of the notes that I have here because I have a bunch of stuff on my screen here. I don't want to make sure that I don't lose you. All right, so in the user auth context right here, before we do anything, we need to make sure that we have access to the user information now. And the reason why we need the user information itself is because we need to make sure that this login and logout buttons are changing depending on the user state, on whether the person is logged in or is not logged in. So in order to do that, we need to make sure that we validate for the existence of a user. If a user exists, that means a user is logged in. Then we show the logout. If a user doesn't exist, then therefore we don't have a user, and no one should have availability to log out. There will be a login instead. So in order to do that, we have to go to the auth context and make sure that we bring in some information in there. So in here for the login, so what do we want here? We want to make sure that we set the user. But for this, we're going to need a use effect. So let's go ahead and bring in the use effect up here to the. We're gonna use the use effect. We're gonna use a couple more things actually. We're gonna use the use state because we need to store the user somewhere. And yeah, use state. Yep. And use effect. So now that we have both the use state and use effect, first thing we're gonna need is inside the function. We can get rid of this method, this comment. In here, we're gonna create a state for the user, and with a setter for the user, so we can set the user in there, and we're gonna initialize it to zip nothing. All right, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and close some of this stuff here so it's out of the way so we don't get confused. And then in here, we're gonna create a use effect. So what is a use effect? I mean, we talked about this in the other tutorial, the beginning of the beginning tutorial for Okta and things like that. But we want to make sure that we talked about it here. So a use effect is basically a life cycle hook, and it basically runs whatever you put in there. It runs it on page load. Okay, that's the easiest explanation to it. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that the on-auth state change function runs on page load, because the first thing you want to do when the page loads is to check for the availability of a user, the existence of such user. So what are we going to do on the on-auth state changes? First argument is going to be the auth itself. So if you can see here that I am already, it's telling you which arguments you need. You need the auth right now, and then you need the next observer, which is going to be the user, and then an error and all that stuff, and then basically subscribe and all that stuff. So it's telling you all that you need to do really. So we're going to need that, and then we're going to need a function for the observer for the user. So we're gonna store this into one called current user, right? This is a name that I'm picking, and that's gonna be an error function. and that error function is gonna run my set user, and it's gonna set my current user. Current user, set user. Yeah, it's gonna, so I'm gonna basically put my current user, this guy right here, inside my current, is this, oh, okay, 20 hours. That's why I was wondering what was going on. So I'm creating a variable, basically current user, and I'm where in the current user is going to be stored in there basically, and I'm going to be basically pass that information that is in here to my setter in here, which is going to add it eventually. It's going to set it inside my user state. All right, so now that I have that, then the next thing I want to do is I don't want that to be available forever. So what I want to do is I want to store this into an unsubscribe variable, and then I'm going to use a cleanup function here on my return. Then I just want a arrow function, and then what I want to do is I want to run my unsub function to be cleaned up, okay? And I only want this to run once, therefore I'm not adding any dependencies because I don't want it to change based on something else that changes. I just want it to, you know, just change like that. So now that I have that, now that this current user is being stored in here, now I can go ahead and bring in let's see, make sure my notes is right. Yep, just right. Now I just want to make sure that I bring in my current user in here somewhere, so I'll just put it out in here. Now my user is available. All right, so I can go ahead and save this. Cool. And just to make sure that this works, now if I go to the header, and now in the header we're gonna do a little bit of work in here. So let's bring the login actually back out, because I know there's some stuff in there that I can use. We're gonna need this, right? We're gonna need the user auth, because this is our context. We're gonna need our context where we put all this stuff in. We're gonna add that in there, and the link is fine. That's okay. And then in the header now we're going to use we're gonna bring our login, not our login, our user auth, and we're gonna have that in there. But we're not gonna use the login now, right? What we're going to use is going to be the user. That's the one that we just created. So user equals to user auth. That's what we're looking for. And then we have the handle login. That's fine. What do we want the handle login to do? We want the handle login that when we click here to send us to the login page. So we're going to need the use navigate for that. And we're going to need the use navigate right here, this thing. I'm just trying to make it faster by just copying and pasting a bunch of stuff. So now when they use, when the let's just do that too, why not? And let's bring it in here. So when the user right here and login, and yeah, let's do the same, might as well. We're doing that already. Let's do that for the logout, and that one is going to go to register. No, not register. No, this is something else. This is something else. Sorry, my bad. All right. So now we're talking. So we want to use the login just as a link, basically just to send you to the login as a button, right, to the login. And then we want the logout to actually do a function of logging you out. So that's the one that is going to be using the logout that we haven't created yet, by the way. That needs to be created here. So we'll do that in a second. Right now, all I want is just basically do the conditional changing because I have the user here. So let's see first if that is even working. So if that is working, let's go ahead and make something happen here. Where am I? I'm in. Let's do it in the header itself. So I am in the header, coffee app, and let's put next to the coffee app. Let's put a user that email, and let's see if it shows an email there. There it is, lsilva@outlook.com. There you go. Good. So we do have access to the user, right? So now that we know that we have access to the user, now we can go ahead and make a distinction in here, a conditional statement basically. And then we're going to say if there is no user, show me the login. And if otherwise, if there is a user, then give him the option to log out. All right, so if that is working correctly, when I save, this should just say log out. There you go, and it says log out. I can't log out to show you the login yet, so let's work on that. So let's go back to the youth contest, and then here we're going to actually work on the logout. Now the logout is actually a pretty easy one to do. So I'm just going to go over here and put const. I'm gonna call it logout. And then the logout is going to use this sign out right here, so it's going to return a sign out function. And then the only thing that we're going to pass into the sign out function is going to be the auth, because it needs to know which account to sign off, right? I know some people like to do this empty and just run sign off period. I don't. I like to actually pass the auth here so they know which account is going to be signed off. And then now obviously I gotta pass that logout service into my provider so that it is available for me. So if I go back to the header now and I pass it right here into my use user auth, I can pass my logout in there as well. Now here in the handle logout is where I actually get to write some code in there. So the handle logout is going to be an async function, an async await. And here I'm going to do a try catch as well. So let's bring the custom login try catch. And I'm gonna put it in the header here, and I put my try catch. I don't want to log in anyone. What I want to do is log out. And I don't have to pass anything, right? Because the only thing that I'm passing to it is going to be the auth, and that's already implicit. That's already implicit in here. It's already defined, so I don't have to redefine it into my logout right here. But when it logs me out, I want it to be logged out to the home page, so I want that to happen. And for my error message, I don't want to console log if there's an error. I mean, I don't want to show it in the screen. What I want to do is just basically a console log, so that if there is an issue, then I'll see it in the console log. That's basically just enough. All right, and just make sure that everything is working as it should. That's fine. And while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and put a link. Let's just go ahead and move this in here, so that way I can go to X. That's what I want. That way I can go to the home page whenever I want to. So I'm gonna do that, and all that should be okay. So now if I go over here, this will change. Everything is saved. Yeah. All right, so now this is the link. Okay, so it's gonna look a little weird because it's in a link form, but if I click on it, it'll take me to the home page, which is fine. And I'm still logged out, but if I hit log out, it should take me to this home page as well. However, this is also going to show as sign in instead. So if I hit log out, bam, there it is. Now I'm not logged in. Now I need to be able to log in order to see it again. And if I hit log in, it'll take me to the login page. So it works perfectly. All right, so we are good with all that stuff. Everything is working really good. However, the only thing that I need to do is I need to secure this profile page, because as you can see, I am able to get in there, even if I'm not logged in. So that needs to be protected. Otherwise, this entire authorization thing is useless. Worthless, not useless, but worthless. All right, so we're gonna work on how to do protected routes in the next video, and that will probably be the last video. All right, guys, see you in the next one.